Hey guys, how are you doing today? This video is going to give you 5 tips about learning Chinese. If you are learning or decide to learn Chinese, these 5 tips may help you. First one is about accent and dialect. I've been asked a question about if I'm learning Chinese, which dialect or accent should I follow? About dialect, I would recommend Mandarin, but it's totally fine if you are following other dialects, because somebody may choose to live in Hong Kong, then speaking Cantonese is sort of more important than if you can speak Mandarin. But I myself just fluent in speaking Mandarin. So if you choose other dialects to follow, I may not help you. Sorry about that. About accent, I would take British and North American accents, for example. When I started to learn English, people told me that, you know what, British accent sounds sexy, and it is very welcome in North America, especially among girls. But I myself just like North American accent, so I follow it. And until now, I still into North American accent. So accent is really not a big deal. Like I myself is still working on improving my English, but mostly in like writing style, pronunciation, and like phrasing and vocabulary, these sort of things. But like you can probably hear my Chinese accent when I'm speaking English, but I think that's totally fine. Only if other people, other English speakers or Chinese or Mandarin speakers can understand you, your pronunciation is just perfect. So don't bother, just be proud of your accent. That's totally fine. Oh, speaking about my English, if you noticed that anything I can improve in my English, like grammar, vocabulary, or anything you think I could improve, please just leave your comments. They would be definitely appreciated. Thank you in advance. The second sort of tip is about, do you really need to learn writing Chinese? Well, I think it depends. If you learn Chinese to just make casual talk or chatting with Chinese speakers when traveling in China, or show off you can speak an unbelievable language, then don't bother with writing Chinese. It's really hard and time consuming, and it's not necessary, really. Don't. So if you just want to learn how to speak, I'll give you another tip. It's like the 4th tip. Please hold on. But if you want more, like reading menu in Chinese restaurants or understand the slogan when traveling in China, this sort of thing, then you have to learn how to write and how to read these kind of things. So here we come to the 3rd tip about, if you have to learn read and write, which written system would you choose? You probably already knew there are 2 written systems, traditional Chinese and simplified Chinese. As I know, most Chinese learners choose to learn simplified Chinese because it looks like much easier to write, and that is used in mainland China, kind of the most widely used written Chinese system. But I myself would suggest you to learn traditional Chinese first, and then you can kind of transfer to simplified Chinese if you need to use it in mainland China. I know my suggestion sounds like to add more burden on your Chinese learning, which is already painful enough. Actually, this suggestion will reduce your burden a lot. Please let me explain it. Well, both traditional and simplified Chinese are written format of Chinese. They are both difficult, of course. The reason Chinese people invented simplified Chinese is to make Chinese language to be easier written. However, the current version of simplified Chinese, it somehow does not make good sense in understand and remember some Chinese characters. Well, the reason Chinese people invent simplified Chinese is to make Chinese written easier, but the current simplified Chinese version is somehow it doesn't make good sense on many characters, which is not good for you to memorize and to be familiar with these kind of characters. Here I give you some examples. As you can see in these different characters, this part occurs repeatedly in all of them, which shows the pronunciation of this kind of character is either deng or cheng. But in simplified Chinese, although this component is easier to write, but you have to memorize 3 different components repeatedly and memorize their pronunciations one by one. Oh, by the way, the meaning of them are all the same, and the pronunciation are all the same in either traditional or simplified Chinese. The notion of traditional Chinese and simplified Chinese are just referred to the written style of them. Doesn't change its meaning or anything else. So, if you learn the traditional Chinese, although they look like more complicated, but they are more systematic, which I think would reduce your burden a lot. Well, another reason I recommend you to use traditional Chinese to write is because when you choose to learn Chinese much deeper, like you want to use more kind of high-level Chinese vocabularies or characters, this kind of uncommonly used Chinese characters, you can notice they also share the same components with the commonly used traditional Chinese characters, but they are not kind of systematic in simplified Chinese, which may be a barrier when you learning Chinese deeper. So hopefully you understand what I mean. Well, if you are a native Chinese speaker, you may have your own opinion. This is just my opinion. So you're more than welcome to share your opinions, but just don't debate. Well, because either traditional Chinese or simplified Chinese is better. This is a kind of hot debate topic among Chinese speakers, and I don't want to start this debate. It's just my opinion. I'm from mainland China, and I was educated totally in simplified Chinese, and I think simplified Chinese is much easier for me to use it. It's very good. I just suggest the beginner of learning Chinese, they can sort of take advantages of the traditional Chinese, so they can learn writing Chinese faster and easier. That's all. So, yeah. The 4th tip is about learning speaking Chinese. If you are learning Chinese, you would probably know the Pinyin System, which is a way to translate Chinese into Latin letters. But here, I would suggest you to use weight spelling system instead of Pinyin System. Pinyin is widely used in mainland China. It looks like to translate Chinese pronunciation into Latin letters. However, the pronunciation of each letters has been changed in Pinyin System. So if you are an English speaker and you've already got used to the pronunciation of the English letters, it's hard for you to transfer it into Chinese pronunciation, the kind of new Chinese Pinyin pronunciations. Here are some examples you can check. So, if you are used to pronounce those letters in English way, you can imagine how hard for you to transfer it in the new Pinyin way. But weight spelling system was invented by a Western, missionary or churchman. I cannot memorize it correctly, but this was invented by a Western person. So you can, I think by all means, you can learn it easier. So it's like to use English pronunciation to mimic the Chinese pronunciation. So I think it's easier for English speakers to follow. Pinyin system is also very useful when you want to type in Chinese. So you can learn it when you are ready to need it. Also, if you want to type in Chinese, there are different kind of choices for you. As I know, Pinyin is one option. Another one is the Cangjie typing way. Yeah, you can learn them online. The last tip is about to improve your Chinese pronunciation or correct your Chinese pronunciation. I would suggest you to listen to native speakers' pronunciation, but follow the non-native speaker's suggestion. Let me explain it. You may listen to some non-native English speakers' English. No matter how well his or her English is, you can notice some kind of incorrect things of their speaking. But if an English learner asks you about suggestions like how can you speak English so well, you probably don't know how to say, right? Because you were born with English. The same with Chinese. If you listen to Chinese native speakers, Chinese, for sure their Chinese is very well. But if you ask them for suggestions like how to use lips and tongue to pronounce the specific Chinese characters, they won't give you the correct suggestions you need. But if you turn to say you are an English speaker and you ask an English speaker whose Chinese is very well, and he or she may tell you the common mistakes that English speakers make when speaking Chinese, and the suggestions about how to use lips and tongue may help you way better than Chinese speakers can. So there's plenty of materials of learning Chinese online. I would suggest you to use those native speakers material to follow the Chinese speaking and to mimic Chinese pronunciation, this sort of thing, but to choose the suggestions of learning Chinese from the non-native speakers materials. Anything you think I could improve, please just leave your comments. They would be definitely appreciated. Thank you in advance.